Aubrey, how do you feel about boats? Are you a boat person?
I'm not really a boat person.
Really? Oh,
I just don't have the
interesting.
money to be a boat person.
I
Who has
know,
the
right?
money to be a boat person?
How does one become a boat person? Um, Guys, this is actually an IELTS speaking part one topic. There's a whole group of questions about boats, and they're weird. And we're going to provide our sample model answers today and talk about maybe why these can be difficult, how you can handle weird questions like this. And guys, we identified the toughest boat question that we think are the toughest for students, okay? And we're going to answer that one at the end of today's episode. So stay until the end, guys, for that very weird question and our amazing answers. Okay. um, Aubrey, I want to remind students about one of our favorite recent episodes we did. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It was 1413, 8
Yeah.
tips to sleep soundly before the big exam. This was really great advice about what to do the night before your test day, what to do that morning, how to make sure that you sleep well the night before. You got to think about all of that as well as just studying.
Totally, guys. And that's why you listen to us, right? Because we're not just teaching you a grammar structure or a vocabulary word, right? We are teaching you everything you need to do well on IELTS. So hit follow right now, guys, so you don't miss another amazing episode. Nobody else gives you the content like we do here on IELTS Energy. So hit follow right now. Okay, guys, we have 4 weird part one questions about boats. So let's get to it. Aubrey, I'm going to ask you first, okay?
Perfect.
Okay. Um have you ever traveled by boat?
Oh man, that's kind of a weird question because when I envision traveling by boat, I'm imagining the Titanic, like an old giant steam powered boat, coal powered maybe, and I've never experienced anything like that. But I mean, I've been on boats. I traveled on a ferry in New York. I've taken a cruise, so I've been on a cruise ship. We traveled to Mexico once on a cruise, which was the most fun. All you can eat food and lots of activities. So yeah, I've been on a boat. I've traveled by boat.
Okay, that's awesome. Um, Before I get to the language items you used that would get that band 9, let's talk about why this question might be difficult real fast, okay? So, if you're asked, have you traveled by boat? Can we talk about like going fishing on a boat? Does that qualify?
No, good question, right? If you're like, oh yeah, I went out on the lake with some friends and we went fishing. So yes, no, that's not traveling by boat,
Right.
right? There's a big difference between going out on a boat for recreation and traveling by boat.
Because traveling by boat, like you're going from one place to another place, like you have a destination. But if it's
Right.
just like recreation, you're just going out on the lake for an hour and then coming back to where you started. Like it's not necessarily traveling. But if you're ever unsure, guys, just use the phrase, I'm not sure if this counts, but. Right? Because then it's like, well, like I understand that this is a weird question, but I'm going to talk about this related thing. Um,
Yes. And
so
couldn't you
then,
also
yeah,
say, Jessica, like, no, I haven't really traveled by boat, but I go out fishing on the lake, right? You're
totally.
answering the question, sharing that
Exactly.
you haven't traveled by boat, and then saying something related.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing Aubrey did that was awesome that you guys can steal for your own IELTS
Mhm.
exam. It is a weird question, right? And Aubrey said that out loud, which you can and should do. This is a native, natural way to respond. It is fluent. It is high scoring. So Aubrey was like, "Oh man, that's kind of a weird question." Say that, guys. Why not? You're speaking English. That's what it is. It's a spoken English exam. And then this high level vocab, you're like, when I envision, right? When I envision traveling by boat, I imagine the Titanic, like such a personal, spontaneous detail to add. That's fluency. Okay. And then more vocab, like a steam powered, coal powered, like I don't know what it is, but that's good vocab. And then to transition into what you have done, you're like, but I mean, I have traveled by boat such and such and give your examples, right? So when you want to introduce your specific answer after all that filler, you could say, but I mean, I have done this, and then give a detail.
Yeah, and you can see how, like, if your first thought is, like, the Titanic and you've never done anything like that,
I
you
know.
need a filler phrase. You need to highlight, like, "This is weird that that would be my first thought, so the question is weird, and then I've bought all of this time where I realize, wait, I've traveled by boat, I took a ferry once, I've been on a cruise ship, those count."
Or your whole answer could be a tangent.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could just be like, we could take the way you started it and go off on a tangent and just be like, that's a really weird question. I mean, when I envision traveling by boat, I picture the Titanic. And who wants to take that risk?
No,
I'm
thank
kind
you.
of afraid of boats. Yeah.
Nice.
I nope out on boat travel. That's
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
a hard
phrase,
no.
to
Haven't
nope
done it,
out
don't
on it.
wanna
Oh,
do it.
yeah, I'm a hard no on boat travel. Like, that would be such a great answer. All right, my turn. Aubrey, can you ask me a question?
Yes, alright, Jessica, would you like to go on a cruise?
Sorry, that was a very loud laugh because as of 2 years ago, I am a cruise person, which I never thought I'd be a cruise person. If you had talked to 23-year-old me and said, "You will be taking a cruise with your son when you're 44," I would say, "Hard no to that. Cruises are not real travel." But I am a cruise person now. So, yeah, we took a cruise to Alaska last year. The year before that, we went to Mexico. I love cruise life. Hashtag cruise life. It is all the food you could eat. There are swimming pools, hot tubs. In Alaska, you can sit in a hot tub and stare at a glacier. This is a cruise experience. This is a travel adventure like none other. And if you have a teenage son who eats 20,000 pounds of food every day, then this is the most affordable way to travel.
That's such an amazing answer. So many great things here, but I wanna highlight some vocab that you guys should be using on every IELTS exam. Somewhere fitted in. Jessica called herself a cruise person. Say, "Now I'm a cruise person." You can use this in so many ways. "Now I'm a boat person." I'm a whatever it is you like
Yeah.
to do,
I'm
right?
a
All the
gym person.
Yes,
Yeah.
so good.
You could use it
Yes.
in a lot of ways.
So many different ways, right? And then I love this chunk where you said, if you had talked to 25-year-old me, like she would not have said, and this, you can imagine how this could be so useful for so many IELTS speaking answers. If you don't have a ton to say this. Well, if you could talk to 15-year-old me, they would say no. And it's a great filler phrase too, right?
And
What would you have said when you were young?
it's some high level grammar right there, right? So
Yes.
let's break that down real fast. How can our
Yeah,
students
it's
communicate that?
right, past perfect. If you had talked to me when I was 25, but we use it this chunk. If you had talked to 25-year-old me, she would have said. It
Yeah.
is really good grammar.
It's amazing grammar. Oh my gosh. Write that down, you guys. All right, let's see. I'm gonna ask you another question. Okay.
All
And
right.
then remember, guys, we're saving the hardest question for last. So we have two more. We're almost to that last question. Here we go. Would you like to have your own boat, Aubrey?
Absolutely not. I know a few people who have boats, and it has been a disaster. Extremely expensive. Always their boat is in the shop, really expensive problems with it. They have to figure out a place to dock it, or they put it in their driveway, neither of which is a good option. And they always plan to use it so much. We're going to go out every weekend, they say. Now, no, right? They'll use it maybe twice a year because you get busy doing other things. So owning a boat, in my experience, is never a good idea.
Okay, that was so awesome. All right. I want to teach the phrase in the shop, first of all. If your
Mm.
car is in the shop, if your boat is in the shop, if your bike is in the shop, it just means it's getting repaired at a mechanics, right? Or at the place that fixes these things. So in the shop, it means your vehicle is being repaired. Okay. So, last episode on Tuesday, guys, go back and listen if you didn't. We talked about how to get a band 9 for pronunciation. And part of what we talked about was being able to communicate subtle meanings with our voice, with our range of intonation and stress. So, I want to note here when Aubrey said, I know people that own boats and they're always like, we're going to go out every weekend, they say. And so that way of quoting someone else, of changing your voice to quote someone who is saying a ridiculous thing, like that is a notable feature that the examiner will notice and think, oh, high score for pronunciation. Like that showed me she was quoting someone else and that it was ridiculous just with your intonation.
Yes, I love that. It makes me think of there's this trendy phrase where people will, if something ended up being a bad idea, they'll
Yeah.
be like, buy a boat, they said. It'll be fun, they said, right? And you have that sing-songy thing to your voice, and it's so fun.
I love that. That's like that. Yeah, there's a lot of like internet memes like that
Yes.
with that specific joke. Oh, I love it. Okay, guys, time for what we think is the hardest question. So Aubrey will ask me, I'll answer, and we'll explain why it's hard. Okay, go ahead.
All right, ready? Is it popular for people to travel by boat in your country?
I'm not 100% sure what this question is asking. Is it popular for I mean, people take cruises, sure. Is it popular for people to travel by boat? No. I mean, in the olden days, right? I live in Portland, which, port land. We're an important port city. So yeah, lots of people used to travel by boat before there were cars and highways everywhere, when people depended on the waterways, the rivers to get from one place to another. It was a necessity to travel by boat because, again, no cars, no planes, right? But these days, I mean, shoot, not really. People enjoy going out on boats on the river, but they're not like traveling to a destination or carrying cargo. So I'm gonna say no. Just to compare the past to now. No, recreation, yes. To actually travel by boat, not so much.
Oh, such a good answer. I think you guys can see from Jessica's answer why we could imagine this being really difficult on test day.
Yeah.
Because we don't say travel by boat to
Nobody
talk
says
about
that.
taking a cruise. No one says that, right? So that's not our first thought. If the
And
examiner asks us
yeah,
this,
nobody is gonna like start a conversation or, just come up to you and be like, "Hi, have you
do you
ever
travel by
traveled by
boat?
boat?" Like,
No.
that's so weird. That would be
Right.
like an AI robot coming to talk to me. I wouldn't believe it's a real person.
Exactly. So our first thought is not like if we've taken a cruise or not. We're
Yeah.
imagining the past when people took transatlantic voyages
Right, yeah.
on a big ship, right? So
Exactly.
where our thoughts go, and then we're like, do people do that anymore? I don't even know. I haven't.
So, like, I think just listen to the way I answered that a couple times, because really all I'm doing is the strategy of narrating my thoughts, right? I am just working through this weird question, trying to make sense of it to myself. I actually do repeat the question to
Yes.
myself 2 or 3 times, which we say not to do. But in this context, I am narrating my thoughts. And so in this context, it is okay.
Yeah, because you're talking through, you're saying, do people travel by boats?
Right.
No, not really, right? You're almost having a conversation with yourself,
Yeah,
which is very
totally.
native and natural.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly, exactly. So, the takeaway today, guys, is practice these tough questions, but also narrate your thoughts. Acknowledge when it's a weird question. Acknowledge if it's phrased in a way nobody would actually say. You could start that answer for that last tough question by saying, I mean, that's a weird question. Was this written
Totally.
by AI? Like, what is that? You could say that.
Yes, right. Because no one would actually ask someone that question
No.
in real life, and you're gonna feel that immediately. If you're it's like a little confusing, you need to buy time to figure out what's even being asked.
Yeah.
Use one of these fillers, point out that it's a weird question.
The examiner also knows, believe me, I
Totally.
was an examiner. We know that they're weird and we have to ask them anyway. So,
Yep.
that's the takeaway, guys. Be honest, be yourself, be expressive on the IELTS exam. All right, Aubrey, thanks for answering these boat questions today.
Yes, awesome. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.